Okay, I'm sorry, I can't do this whole review pretending to be Silent Bob. So, Snoochie Boochies, Anthonix Maximus. I just got through reviewing a movie for Anthonix Maximus Reviews, but I feel like discussing Clerks 3. Because the thing is, I am a Kevin Smith fan. Yeah, you know, he's put out some less than okay movies, but then there are many great gems. If the films don't involve Jay and Silent Bob, it can be hit or miss. I am a fan of Zack and Miri Make a Porno, even though that might kind of fit into the Jay and Silent Bob universe. But I'm also a fan of Tusk and Red State. But this movie, Clerks 3, it takes us back to Kevin Smith's beginnings, which would be Clerks. Yeah, I would say Clerks 3 is a love letter to the very original Clerks and the whole entire View Askew universe. In fact, in many ways, it kind of felt like an ending as well. But then again, Kevin Smith has been threatening us with Mallrats too, so who knows? This film reunites Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson as Dante and Randall, along with Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith as Jay and Silent Bob. It also brings back Kevin Fairman as Elias, who joined the characters in Clerks 2. And it does have Rosario Dawson in this film, but I don't know if you'll like how her character is portrayed. I was very disappointed in it myself. Not because Rosario Dawson did a bad job or that her character did a bad job, it's just, they just took the character in a direction that I really was not expecting. As we learned from the trailers, what happens is that Randall has a heart attack, or it's going through a heart attack. He goes through a heart attack and he survives it. Realizing that he hasn't really accomplished much, he decides to make a movie, specifically a movie based on their lives. And that movie is filmed to be Clerks. It's sort of a meta in-world joke. The Clerks are filming the first Clerks movie, essentially. What I like about this film is that they pretty much took everyone from the original movie, well, most everyone, and they brought them back in this film. And it's really great to see everyone, you know, much older, almost like 30 years later. It just really had that same feeling. See, the thing about Clerks and Clerks 2 and all the other Jay and Silent Bob movies is that a lot of the Jay and Silent Bob View Askew universe movies are good. Sometimes it kind of gets away from Kevin Smith to the point where it becomes very focused on the slapstick. Clerks 2 is way off from the first movie. They even have a musical dance number. But in this movie, I feel like they dialed it back. What they did was they didn't extend the cast too much. Yeah, there are scenes where they're running auditions for their Clerks film before they decide to just cast themselves and everyday people, but really they didn't want to expand too much. They didn't want to bring in characters from the other View Askew movies. So we're not going to see Banky from Mallrats, nor are we going to see characters from Chasing Amy or Dogma. They are kind of referenced. Buddy Christ is shown on a kite that Elias tries to sell, but like I said, there are nods to other films like Clerks 2 and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and even Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Now, this movie keeps it a small cast. Of course, much of the decision being made behind this is that it was filmed during COVID, so they really were kind of careful on set, but yeah, they just wanted to bring it back to the roots. They just wanted to keep it simple. We do get Justin Long in a film in a brief cameo role as someone who works at the hospital who shaves Randall, but, you know, to prep him for operation. You know, Justin Long, I actually do like him as an actor, and I like listening to a few clips of his podcast. I don't sit through full podcasts because they bore the hell out of me, but yeah, sometimes, you know, if you listen to pieces of clips, they're really good. And Justin Long is a very charismatic guy. I love his characterizations. He does a voice in this movie.
Take off your pants.
Okay, sure, like, it's tongue-in-cheek, but it fits. Amy Sedaris is a surgeon in this film, a doctor. She's a type of comedic actress that you either love her or you hate her, because she's a character actor as well. I love her because I'm a fan of Strangers with Candy, but I can see why some people might think she's a bit much. It's not like she's in the film too long, so we can live with that. You see, this film is actually more about Dante and Randall themselves as they're getting older, and they're no longer the 20-something-year-olds working at a convenience store like in the first Clerks movie. They own the convenience store, Quick Stop, because at the end of Clerks 2, they end up buying it. And they actually share the stores, this little strip mall, with Jay and Silent Bob as well. It's kind of like their job has become their prison. How even Randall is living inside, in between his old store and Quick Stop. And a film like this really does follow. It's about dealing with maturity, it's about dealing with grief, and it's about moving on. It completes a whole story arc for both Dante and Randall, which is kind of sad because the way it ends, I guess we can just not expect the Clerks animated series to fully tie in with the live action. That stands on its own. Otherwise, it would have been nice to see them face off against a live action Leonardo. I will say this though, because of the tone, I will say this: if you didn't like how Randall gave a mushy, soft speech at the end of Clerks 2, then you might not like it for this. But I personally did like it because it's really about a breaking point for both Dante and Randall. The only downside, which I will mention here, even though it's a bit of a spoiler, but it's not, don't expect to see Caitlin Bree in this film. That's because the actress Lisa Spoonauer passed away in 2017. So I think the way I can just kind of continue with this is by going into the spoilers. Yeah, we're gonna spoil this bad boy. So if you haven't seen Clerks 3, then I recommend you jump ahead. If you have seen Clerks 3 or you have not and you just want to be spoiled, by all means stick around. Otherwise, go ahead and just skip to this. So I really like how the movie starts. The movie starts with them opening up the stores. Randall's old store is no longer a video store, RST Video. It's actually now Jay and Silent Bob's THC store. I actually like the fact about this movie is that they sell drug paraphernalia. Jay and Silent Bob sell drug paraphernalia, but they do it from the front of the store. Even though it's legal now, they still prefer to act like they used to and act like drug dealers selling outside the store. And as the movie opens up, it cuts from scene to black screen with words to the music of Black Parade from My Chemical Romance. Great song to open a movie up with. It is kind of funny though, like as each character is introduced, you could tell Kevin Smith filmed it in a way that like the moment Dante would show up on screen or the moment Randall would show up on screen or Jay and Silent Bob, there's a pause there. And it's a pause like they're expecting the audience to cheer. Kind of the same thing they do with Marvel movies, really. It's like they pause to wait for the fanfare applause to die down. Now, the sad part about this movie that really broke my heart, which it really did bug me because I love the actress, is that Rosario Dawson's character, she's actually dead. She died. Yeah, Becky is in the film, but she appears as kind of like a ghost talking to Dante. Now, that could be an actual physical ghost or just being played out in Dante's mind as his coping mechanism. And it's extra sad because they implied that this car accident happened immediately after the events of Clerks 2. So that means when she died, she had just been proposed to by Dante, and she was pregnant with Dante's baby. So really, Dante lost his love and child, or potential child. And Rosario Dawson is still charming in this film. She's very funny. She really tries to brighten him up. She tries to help him move on with his life, but he breaks down every time something reminds him of her. And the film also brings back Veronica, sorry if I butchered the name, played by Marilyn Gigliotti. We hadn't seen her since the first movie, so it was great to see what happened to her, because in the first movie she kind of broke up with Dante because Dante was about to move on with his ex-girlfriend Caitlin. But yeah, we see Veronica agreeing to be in Randall's movie, even though she really hates the premise of how her character is written, but she does it because out of guilt, because Dante lost so much. And by the fact that they hook up in her car, you would think that she's gonna be the love interest of the film. Like, you think they're gonna get back together, and they do not. And you know, that's actually refreshing, because it's just, it'd be more like a consolation prize if that did happen, you know? And we get the cameos from Ben Affleck, Bobby Moynihan, hell, even Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Those were just fun bits until Randall decides that they would just play themselves. The Elias character goes from being overly religious to a Satan worshiper because he felt God didn't respond to him quick enough to save Randall, even though Randall did live. And when Randall needed to raise the money to fund his project, it was up to Dante to reach out to his ex-former fiance, once again played by Kevin Smith's real-life wife, Jennifer Schwarbeck, as Emma, Jennifer Schwarbeck. I'm sorry if I butcher the name. I'm really bad at certain words. And yeah, she's a bit of a in this movie because, well, let's face it, she kind of got screwed over by Dante in Clerks 2. Even though she was abrasive and tried to manipulate everything he did, she still kind of got screwed over by him. So you gotta kind of understand why she was the way she is. But she is painted up as to be kind of a bad guy in this. And there are cute nods that you could tell that every decision that was made while they're filming their version of Clerks is a mirror to what Kevin Smith was going through. Because Kevin Smith, when he made the first Clerks movie, he was actually working at Quick Stop, and they were actually filming in the middle of the night. That's why they had to do the whole scene, a whole movie where the front shutters are closed and they couldn't open it because, well, they wanted to hide the fact that they were filming at nighttime. So if you saw any light come through the front door, those were spotlights. And in the film, they even have a moment where they're about to shoot a scene where Dante gets shot by a robber. And that's because the original ending of the first Clerks movie was going to end with Dante getting shot during a robbery. And I liked that they had their exploding moment, their third act breakup, I guess, between Dante and Randall, like where they've just had it enough with each other. The world's falling apart for Dante. He's just going through so much misery. And they're doing this while filming the scene from like what happened in the first Clerks movie, where at the same time they're exploding on each other. And I love the monologues that Dante and Randall are delivering to one another, breaking down in tears, talking about the hell he's been through all his life. And Randall at his breaking point saying back to Dante, you went through all, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, but saying you had all this pain, but we were all there with you. We suffered your pain. And that was some perspective for me because, you know, everyone does suffer. Everyone has inner demons that they face. But what we don't think about is that the people around us, they kind of live through that too. May not have it firsthand, but they still experience it. Our friends and family still witness it. So while they may not have the same pain, they get it. They're still going through it too. So it's kind of reassuring because you're never really alone. But the part that really falls apart for me, that kind of is like, oh my God, is that Dante has a heart attack and is brought to the hospital. And this really hurts because this is what drives Randall to finish the film. Apparently he got all the footage he needed. He edits the film real quick. Then he sneaks into the hospital, past all the doctors and nurses to get to Dante's room. And as Dante is in his hospital bed with the tubes in his mouth, Randall plays the finished movie for him. And when he plays the movie, yeah, they used the same actors when filming, but they're actually watching the first Clerks movie. So everyone looks young again. And it's weird, yes, but it makes sense once Randall explains that this is how I actually see us. So while everyone has grown, Randall always felt they were the same people that they were back in 1994. And the part that really kind of, the part that really got to me was in Dante's head, he's sitting in an empty movie theater watching this film, and Becky, Rosario Dawson, sits next to him. And then he decides, okay, let's go. And she says, are you sure? And he says, yeah, I trust the director, Randall. So he takes Becky's hand and they walk out of the theater. That's their "it's time, take me to heaven, it's time to go" moment. And that is when Dante passes away. And the movie just, oh man, like I got choked up. I was near tears. Like these are people I grew up with. I had all the movies. It was near the same sadness as Tony Stark dying at the funeral. Yeah, I mean, there's a funny moment with Elias dressed up in his satanic garment and everything, but Randall giving a speech saying, "You're not supposed to be here today." Like he just kind of sealed it off. In order for Emma to actually had put money into the film, Dante had promised his share of the Quick Stop store. And just as when it seemed like she comes to collect it, well, here comes Elias and his silent friend, because he has his own Silent Bob throughout this film. Turned out that they made plenty of money from their Buddy Christ kites that they were selling, NFTs actually. Basically, Elias is in the Dante position of ownership of the store. He pays Emma back, and Randall is able to put out his film. And it finally closes off the same way Clerks 2 closes off, with a zoom out. And on the floor, we even see Millie, who was introduced in Jay and Silent Bob reboot, played by Kevin Smith's daughter, Harley Quinn Smith. Actually, I don't know how I feel about this, but at the end you do see standing next to Randall the ghost or spirit of Dante. And he's not making a face or doing anything, he's just stone faced. Yeah, I don't know what that was supposed to signify. I hope it's just kind of a avant-garde way of saying that he's passing on the torch. So yeah, the film does have its silly moments, yeah. They really did dial it back for Clerks 3. And I think what helped was them filming the first movie, essentially. So let's go ahead and invite our non-spoiler friends, huh? See you in a bit. Hey there, non-spoiler friends. I hope you've been chewing on some Truly's gum. Little Clerks reference for you. As I was telling our spoiler friends, it's a very deep, emotional movie, so be emotionally prepared. This was a Lionsgate film. It's only playing at select Regal theaters. That seems to be the arrangement lately with Kevin Smith films, because I saw the Jay and Silent Bob reboot at a Regal theater as well, and it was very limited. The one I saw was a 7 p.m. showing, and they only show it at 7 p.m. each day. Some theaters, 7 p.m. and 9 something. Very limited. The film goes back to its emotional roots, and I recommend you do see it. There are no actual post-credits or anything. It's not a Marvel comic book film, so don't worry about that. However, I will say this, because I don't think it's really a spoiler thing. You can leave during the credits and be fine, but what happens during the credits is that there's no music. Instead, Kevin Smith himself speaks, and he actually talks about his experience of how he got into filming the first Clerks movie. I sat through it all because I like hearing how, certain directors, where they come from, where their humble beginnings come from. And for a Fathom film, I don't know if this is going to be introduced on like the DVD, Blu-ray, or anything like that, but after the credits, there is kind of a making of segment. It's kind of brief. I'd say probably about 5-10 minutes. You can either sit through it or go home. What I do like about the fact that it's a Fathom exclusive film is that there were no trailers. It just starts. I actually appreciate that. I think we've come to the point now that thanks to the internet and thanks to YouTube, do we really need the trailers in our movie theaters anymore? I mean, I guess we do need it if you're at a concession stand, and concession stand workers tend to take a long time, but otherwise, no, it was a good movie. It was a great showing. Regal theaters, if you're going to do Fathom events, put them in the comfortable theaters or update your seats. AMC, other theaters like that, they have recliner seats. I don't know what's taking so long with Regal theaters, but I'm going to go ahead and call it. The movie, I would say, is an 8 out of 10. Closer to a 7 than a 9, but 8 out of 10. I do recommend you see it. If you've been exhausted from all the other Jay and Silent Bob films, I say you should circle back to this one. It's a Kevin Smith film. It probably will be on Amazon or Stars pretty soon, so do what you will. It's a good movie. Before I become any more of a softie, I'll just sign off. I'm Anthonix Maximus. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe so you can catch up on Anthonix Maximus Matinee or Anthonix Maximus Reviews and Snoogans.
I'm not letting you kill me off in the third act. What if there's a sequel?
A sequel? What am I, a hack?